The fifth Chief of War episode. However, the race of the gods perfectly positions the chessboard while being what can be legitimately described as a filler. Ka'iana's eagerly anticipated return to his home islands will play an unexpected role in the upcoming conflict between Kamehameha and Keoua. Kamehameha must protect his region from his cousin's wrath before he can take the throne of the prophesied king. Ka'iana has been waiting a long time. But during the trip, he maintained his faith and patience. If anything, he has won a devoted friend by being careless and taking his time to rescue Tony from a life of suffering and mistreatment. Tony is appreciative. However, Ka'iana now prioritizes getting back together with his family over all of that. Family means quite different things to she has yet to adjust to the embarrassment of being a common woman and having to share a meal with a chief of royal birth. Even on the ship, she is reminded of that division, which makes sense given how strongly social hierarchies and gender norms are valued in her home. Vai views her kid, whom she left behind, as family. Strong on societal structures and gender roles. Vi views her kid, whom she left behind when she set out into the Pacific in a canoe without a map or compass, as family. She couldn't have imagined that she would be able to return. Knowing that she might not see her son again, she departed for the most part. Vi, however, wants another opportunity to become a mother now that she is returned. Furthermore, even though Ka'iana tells her that everything at home is exactly how they left it, that isn't the case at all. Not even Ka'iana is going back to the same Hawaii. Moku has the authority to make decisions regarding Ka'iana and the Nootka's crew in his capacity as chief counsel. He doesn't have much faith in Ka'iana. And that makes sense. Given that he knows Ka'iana as two different things. He is the battle chief who deserted his king, to start. Second, he is the warrior who helped Kahekili ruthlessly conquer Oahu. Ka'iana's apologies and desire for atonement do not take away from the role he played in the Kahekili attack on peaceful islands. Furthermore, Moku's interactions with the pale skin haven't been particularly positive. Therefore, Moku requests that the Nootka's crew remain on board while he brings Ka'iana's plea before Kamehameha and his council. Seeing his family, especially Kupuohi, again is the one thing Ka'iana has been most excited about. However, time has not paused in his lack of presence. Additionally, Kupuohi and Namek have become close since Ka'iana's last visit. When Hik breaks the news of Ka'iana's homecoming, Kupuohi isn't in the right frame of mind to even feel the upheaval. His unannounced reappearance is the answer to the prayers of the majority of Ka'iana's family. However, Namek has recently begun praying for someone else. He has grown closer to Kupuohi than she is to him. Any prospect of them trying out a life together. Keoua has fallen behind in the battle of the gods. He anticipated receiving the political and spiritual thrones of the Kingdom of Hawaii as he was Kalani'opu's son. At his core, he is a fighter, and his soul is deeply spiritual. Therefore, Keoua doesn't feel personally betrayed by the late king's choice to entrust the war god to someone who is not related to them. It feels like a rejection he doesn't want to accept, a spiritual betrayal. He is internally illuminated by the melodies of his wonderful family and their connections to Kakelemoku. He will never be comfortable entrusting the worship of the war god to anybody else. The sole obstacle preventing Keoua from. He wants to act honorably, so he lets his anger out on the Kohala district. He does not wish to be associated with insane monarchs such as Kahekili. In order to influence and persuade them to join his fight, he has assembled the chiefs of every district in Hawaii. However, Kamehameha, the delegate for Kohala, is not present, which is the first issue that worries the chiefs. The chiefs of each of the major districts are supposed to review King's decisions. Keoua has undermined the framework that Hawaii's bureaucratic choices are supposed to adhere to by leaving out Kohala for apparent reasons. The chiefs' reverence for the previous king and his beliefs comes before their fear of being charged with treason against the new one. Keoua's worries aren't wholly unjust. There has only been one previous division of spiritual and governmental authority in the history of the Kingdom of Hawaii. However, the chiefs are aware that a king with Kalaniopus' level of wisdom must have been well versed in his duties. He must have thought that Kamehameha would be a lot superior leader of their troops than his own son because of something he saw in him. In his capacity as the heir, Keoua readied himself for the armies and the war god's assault. Therefore, his arguments aren't entirely irrational, even though his anger is explosive and detrimental to Hawaii's future. But in the end, the only thing preventing a senseless, bloody conflict for the time being is the district chief's astute choice to follow the former king's instructions and intentions. Kamehameha will require the unwavering support of the majority of Hawaii's districts in order to ever become king. However, he is currently friendly with both his father-in-law, Moku, and his own council. Moku still believes that the man is the prophesied king. Ironically, though, Kamehameha himself doesn't place much emphasis on the prophecy. He is a devout follower of the gods. However, he is one of the rare visionary leaders who understands the dangers of making judgments and taking acts solely on faith. His council has good reason to be afraid. The kingdom of Hawaii will be far more exposed to Kahekili's impending attack if they are engaged in internal conflict. Therefore, if Kohala's leader is gone cultivating the land where he grew up, it will the world's reasons to be eternally thankful for one another. Ka'ahumanu moved Ka'iana's family into her own house after rescuing them from the Kahekili's fury. In turn, they have provided her with all the kinship and support she required in a location that is still a strange place even though it is her home. Given their prior communication, Ka'ahumanu is aware of Ka'iana's potential contribution to her husband's council. There are different threats now than there were previously. Ka'iana returns from Samoanga with tales of a world that is varied and lovely, but it is also tainted by avarice and the Paleskins' ruthless authority. Observing the condition of the locations they've conquered has shown Ka'iana a future in which they will come for his home, in addition to instilling in him the essential terror. Ka'iana is currently getting ready for a lot more than the conflict between Kamehameha and Keoua and the struggle to bring Hawaii together. He is preparing to defend his country from the unknown, the outsiders from Europe who have the power to quickly transform his lovely islands into a desolate place like Samoanga.